What if somewhere beneath the earth, hidden in forgotten ruins or swallowed by the sea, lies a fortune beyond imagining? For centuries, the whispers of lost treasures have haunted explorers and dreamers alike. Golden cities sunk beneath waves, royal tombs sealed by time, artifacts of unimaginable power that vanished without a trace. These aren't just stories, they're real mysteries waiting to be solved. Even today, with all our technology and knowledge, some of history's most astonishing treasures remain stubbornly out of reach, their legends outshining their absence. Think about the thrill of discovery the moment an explorer's shovel strikes metal in the dirt, or a diver's light catches the glint of gold in the deep. Now picture this: 30 such moments still possible, still waiting. From the fabled Ark of the Covenant, said to hold divine power, to the lost mine of El Dorado, dripping with gold, the ancient world has left us puzzles that defy time. These aren't just objects, they're keys to understanding vanished civilizations, their secrets locked away in the very things they cherished most. Some were stolen by invaders, others buried by their owners to protect them, but all share one thing in common: no one alive today knows exactly where they are. That's the adventure we're embarking on together. Across deserts, jungles, and ocean floors, we'll follow the trails of these elusive treasures, piecing together clues from ancient texts, modern technology, and the occasional lucky accident. Some might be closer to discovery than we think, while others may never surface, but the hunt itself is what keeps the legend alive. So whether you're a history buff, a mystery lover, or just someone who wonders what's still out there waiting to be found, this journey is for you. Let's uncover the stories behind 30 of the world's greatest missing treasures, and who knows, maybe the next great discovery will start with you. The Ark of the Covenant isn't just a lost treasure, it's a relic wrapped in divine mystery. According to ancient texts, this golden chest wasn't merely a holder of sacred tablets. It was a conduit of God's power, capable of parting rivers, toppling walls, and striking down those who dared touch it without reverence. Crafted under Moses' command, it became the heart of Israelite worship, enshrined in the innermost chamber of Solomon's temple. But when Babylon's armies stormed Jerusalem in 586 BC, the Ark vanished from history's record, leaving behind a void filled with theories, legends, and desperate searches. Some believe it was smuggled away by priests before the temple fell, hidden in a secret tunnel beneath Jerusalem's streets. Others argue it was taken to Egypt, only to disappear into the sands. One enduring theory points to Ethiopia, where the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion claims to safeguard the Ark to this day, though no outsider has ever been allowed to see it. Then there's the chilling possibility that it was destroyed, melted down by conquerors who had no idea of its significance. But what if it's still out there? Modern archaeologists have scoured temple ruins, deciphered cryptic scrolls, even used ground-penetrating radar to search for hidden chambers. The Ark's rumored powers, electrical surges, unnatural storms, have fueled speculation that it wasn't just a religious object but a lost ancient technology. Whether divine or simply misunderstood, its absence has only magnified its legend. And until it's found, the question remains: could something so central to history still lie waiting in the shadows, guarded by time itself? Genghis Khan's tomb isn't just a missing grave, it's the final secret of history's most feared conqueror. The man who built an empire stretching from the Pacific to Europe demanded an equally untraceable end. Legend says that after his death in 1227, his loyal followers carried his body deep into the Kentiai Mountains of Mongolia, following traditions so extreme they ensured silence. Every soldier who attended the burial was reportedly killed to protect the location, and then the killers themselves were executed. Rivers were diverted to cover the tomb's path, trees planted to obscure it, and the earth itself was trampled by 1,000 horses to erase all traces. The result, a mystery that has outlasted empires, For centuries, the search for Genghis Khan's resting place has been a fool's errand, not just because of the brutal precautions, but because of a cultural taboo. Many Mongolians believed disturbing the tomb would unleash a curse, bringing catastrophe to the world. Even today, archaeologists tiptoe around local sensitivities, using non-invasive methods like satellite imaging and ground-penetrating radar to scan the rugged landscape. Some clues have surfaced. A 400-year-old account mentions a mountain called Berkhan-Kolden, where Khan supposedly asked to be buried, and recent expeditions have found evidence of ancient structures hidden in the region's remote valleys. But the greatest obstacle might be the land itself. The Kentiai Mountains are vast, wild, and brutally unforgiving, a maze of dense forests and steep cliffs that still resist modern technology. Add to that the deliberate efforts to erase all markers, and you've got a puzzle that defies even the most determined treasure hunters. Yet the hunt continues, driven by more than just gold or artifacts. Finding Genghis Khan's tomb would mean unlocking the final chapter of a man who reshaped continents, a ruler who, even in death, refuses to be found. And that's the real allure, not just the treasure, but the defiance of a secret that has endured for 800 years. The Amber Room wasn't just a treasure, it was an entire chamber of liquid gold, crafted from 6 tons of amber panels backed with gold leaf and studded with mirrors, jewels, and intricate mosaics. Built in the early 18th century as a gift from Prussia's Frederick William I to Russia's Peter the Great, it became the crown jewel of Catherine Palace near St. Petersburg, dazzling visitors with its honeyed glow. Writers called it the 8th wonder of the world, a masterpiece so radiant it seemed to hold sunlight itself within its walls. But in 1941, when Nazi forces invaded the Soviet Union, the room's fate took a dark turn. German soldiers, following Hitler's explicit orders to loot Europe's greatest art, dismantled the Amber Room in under 2 days. They packed the panels into crates and shipped them to Königsberg Castle in Germany, where the treasure was displayed briefly, then vanished as Allied bombs reduced the city to rubble. Some believe the crates were destroyed in the chaos, their amber melted into nothing. Others insist they were hidden in a last-ditch effort to protect them, sparking a hunt that's outlived generations. Theories about its whereabouts read like a spy thriller. ONE Chinese letter points to a network of salt mines in Poland, where crates matching the room's description were reportedly stored. Divers have searched the Baltic Sea, chasing rumors of a sunken Nazi cargo ship carrying the panels. There's even a tantalizing lead from a former soldier's diary, hinting at a secret bunker beneath the ruins of Königsberg. But the most persistent theory involves the legendary Nazi gold train, a rumored underground railway filled with stolen treasures, possibly buried somewhere in the Owl Mountains. Despite high-tech scans and countless expeditions, no one's found definitive proof. What makes the Amber Room unique isn't just its material value, it's the haunting possibility that it still exists, hidden in plain sight. In 2003, a partial reconstruction opened in Catherine Palace, a painstaking replica that only deepens the mystery. If the original were found today, would it still shimmer with its former glory, or would time have turned its gold to dust? The answer might lie waiting in a forgotten tunnel, a sunken wreck, or a sealed bunker, somewhere between history's cracks where the world's most radiant room refuses to give up its secrets. The Treasure of Lima isn't just a pirate's loot, it's an entire city's ransom, swallowed by the jungle. Picture this: in 1820, as revolution swept South America, the Spanish authorities in Lima faced a crisis. Fearing rebels would seize the city's unimaginable wealth, gold bars stacked like firewood, jewel-encrusted religious relics, even a life-sized solid gold statue of the Virgin Mary. They loaded it all onto a single British ship, the Mary Dear, captained by a man named William Thompson. His orders were simple: transport the treasure to Mexico for safekeeping, but greed had other plans. Thompson and his crew, dazzled by a cargo worth over $200 million today, turned pirate overnight. They slaughtered the Spanish guards, threw their bodies overboard, and vanished into the Pacific. For months, navies hunted them until Thompson was finally captured, but not before he'd allegedly buried the treasure on Cocos Island, a speck of land 300 miles off Costa Rica. With his last breaths, he drew a map whispering of a waterfall that hid the hoard behind its roaring curtain. What makes this hunt so tantalizing isn't just the treasure's scale, it's the island itself. Cocos is a fortress of cliffs and tangled rainforest where sudden storms and poisonous snakes guard the land. Over 500 expeditions have tried, from Victorian adventurers with shovels to modern teams with satellite scans. Some found clues, a 17th century dagger wedged in a rock, carvings that might be Thompson's markers, even a gold crucifix, but the main cache remains elusive. Was the treasure moved? Did Thompson lie? Or is it still there, hidden behind that waterfall, waiting for someone brave enough to face the island's curses, both real and imagined? The jungle keeps its secrets well, and until someone cracks Cocos' code, Lima, as lost gold, will keep whispering from the shadows. Beneath the modern bustle of Moscow's Red Square, buried deep under layers of history and stone, might lie one of the greatest collections of knowledge ever lost to time, the fabled library of Ivan the Terrible. This isn't just a missing set of books, it's a trove of ancient wisdom, said to hold original Greek and Roman manuscripts so rare they could rewrite entire chapters of history. The story begins with Ivan's grandmother, Sophia Paleologina, a Byzantine princess who fled Constantinople as it fell to the Ottomans. She brought with her a dowry richer than gold, crates of scrolls from the imperial library, works by philosophers like Aristotle, historians like Livy, and scientists like Ptolemy. Texts Europe assumed were lost forever. For years, the collection gathered dust in the Kremlin's shadows until Ivan himself, a ruler as scholarly as he was brutal, took interest. Obsessed with preserving his legacy, he allegedly ordered the construction of secret vaults beneath the city. But after his death in 1584, the library vanished without a trace. Some claim it was walled up to protect it from invaders. Others whisper it was destroyed in one of Moscow's many fires. Yet the most persistent theory, it's still down there waiting. The hunt for Ivan's library has driven men to madness. In the 1700s, workers digging near the Kremlin stumbled upon an underground chamber filled with wooden chests only for the passage to collapse before they could explore further. Centuries later, Soviet archaeologists armed with ground-penetrating radar detected strange voids beneath the arsenal tower, their scans revealing tunnels that don't appear on any map. But the Kremlin, a fortress of secrets, guards its mysteries fiercely. Expeditions have been blocked, permits denied, and even today, the Russian government dismisses the library as myth. What makes this search so electrifying isn't just the potential treasures, it's the stakes. These texts could hold lost dialogues of Socrates, alternative histories of Rome, or even early Christian writings suppressed by the church. Modern scholars argue that if found, Ivan's library could rival the rediscovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls in its impact. Yet the truth may forever stay buried, locked beneath politics and time. And so the legend endures, a ghost library of forgotten genius resting silently underfoot, where the footsteps of tourists echo above its hidden chambers. The crown jewels of Ireland weren't just symbols of monarchy, they were a glittering betrayal waiting to happen. On the morning of July 6, 1907, a horrified guardsman made the discovery. A vault in Dublin Castle stood empty, its locks picked, and inside the jewels were gone. Not just any jewels, but the badges and star of the Order of St. Patrick, crafted with 394 precious stones, including a diamond-studded cross so valuable it was said to outshine the British Crown's own regalia. The theft wasn't just a crime, it was a national humiliation, exposing rot at the highest levels of power. The investigation that followed read like a scandal sheet. Suspicion fell first on the castle's own staff, particularly Sir Arthur Vickers, the Ulster King of Arms, whose job was safeguarding the jewels. The vault keys were famously kept in an unlocked drawer, and Vickers had hosted a raucous party just nights before the theft, fueling rumors of negligence or worse. But then the trail twisted into darker territory. Whispers linked the crime to a secret homosexual ring within the castle, with some even suggesting the jewels were stolen as blackmail leverage. Others pointed to the Irish Republican Brotherhood, who saw the regalia as a hated emblem of British rule. But the most chilling theory, that occultists had taken them, believing the jewels held mystical power. The truth proved as slippery as the thieves. Despite a royal commission and public inquest, no one was ever convicted. Vickers, disgraced, spent his final years in paranoia, convinced he was being followed, until he was murdered during the Irish Civil War, his killers never identified. The jewels, meanwhile, vanished without a trace. Over the years, fragments of the mystery surfaced: a pawned diamond in Amsterdam, a tip about them being smuggled to Canada, even a claim they were melted down and sold stone by stone. Yet the most persistent rumor is that they're still in Ireland, hidden in a Dublin basement or buried in some aristocrat's estate, their fate known only to ghosts. What makes this theft so compelling isn't just the lost wealth, it's the layers of shame, conspiracy, and unresolved justice clinging to it. The crown jewels of Ireland didn't just disappear, they took secrets with them. And in a country where history is never truly past, their absence remains an open wound, one that still glints with the possibility of discovery, if anyone dares to dig deep enough into the shadows of Dublin Castle. The Knights Templar didn't just accumulate wealth, they built a financial empire so vast it made kings tremble. By the early 14th century, these warrior monks controlled fleets of ships, sprawling estates, and a revolutionary banking network that stretched from Jerusalem to London. Their vaults held gold, relics, and secrets until October 13, 1307, when King Philip IV of France launched a brutal surprise attack. Declaring the Templars heretics, he ordered their arrests, seized their lands, and tortured hundreds into confessing absurd crimes. But when the smoke cleared, one question lingered: where had all their treasure gone? The official records claim the crown confiscated everything, yet historians agree the sums recovered were pitiful compared to the Templars' known holdings. Some gold surely lined Philip's pockets, but the rest, theories spiral like the cryptic symbols in Templar chapels. One persistent legend claims a convoy of knights escaped Paris under cover of darkness, hauling chests of treasure to the port of La Rochelle, where ships waited to spirit it away. Others whisper of secret tunnels beneath Templar strongholds, their walls etched with clues leading to hidden vaults. Then there's Rennes-le-Château, a sleepy French village that became ground zero for conspiracy. In the late 19th century, a priest named Berenger Saunière suddenly began spending fortunes renovating his church, fueling rumors he'd found Templar gold buried in the hills. Strange carvings appeared in the chapel, coded messages, inverted statues, even a demon guarding the entrance. Was it all a hoax? Maybe. But the village sits atop a warren of ancient caves, some bearing Templar crosses chiseled into the stone. The wildest theories tie the treasure not to gold, but to something far more explosive: the lost lineage of Christ, or relics like the Ark of the Covenant, smuggled out of Jerusalem centuries earlier. Modern treasure hunters armed with sonar and drones still scour Rennes-le-Château, while scholars pore over Templar trial records for overlooked clues. But the truth might be simpler. Perhaps the treasure was never physical at all. The real Templar legacy could be their banking techniques, their naval maps, or even their unshakable defiance. Secrets no king could confiscate, no flame could destroy. 8 centuries later, the mystery endures, a fortune lost to history, waiting in some forgotten crypt or scattered to the winds. And until someone cracks the code, the Templars will have the last laugh, their greatest treasure still hidden in plain sight. The Copper Scroll isn't like the other Dead Sea Scrolls where they whisper of sacred texts and ancient wisdom. This one reads like a robber's fever dream. Discovered in 1952 inside a cave near Qumran, its battered copper sheets list 64 hiding places across Judea, each one crammed with unimaginable wealth. Tons of silver and gold, sacred vessels, even entire chests of priestly robes. But here's the catch, the directions are maddeningly vague. One entry reads, "In the ruin that is in the valley of Akka, under the steps leading to the east, 40 talents of silver." Another claims treasure lies in the gutter of the salt pit. No maps, no landmarks, just riddles wrapped in a metal that's lasted 2,000 years. What makes this scroll so tantalizing isn't just the treasure. It's the mystery of who wrote it and why. Most Dead Sea Scrolls were penned by the Essenes, a reclusive Jewish sect, but this. The language is clunky, the spelling erratic, as if scribbled by someone in a hurry. Scholars debate whether it's a literal inventory or some kind of symbolic text, but the numbers don't lie. If even half the locations are real, we're talking about a hoard worth billions today. Some theorize it's the lost treasury of the Second Temple, hidden before the Romans sacked Jerusalem in 70 AD. Others think it's war loot buried by rebels during the Bar Kokhba revolt. The hunt has driven explorers to dig up half the Judean desert. In the 1960s, a team tunneled beneath Jerusalem's old city, following a clue only to hit a sewage line. Another group spent years scanning the salt flats near the Dead Sea, convinced the gutter of the salt pit referred to an ancient mining trench, but the scroll's greatest obstacle might be time itself. Many of the landmarks it mentions, cisterns, olive presses, even entire villages, have crumbled to dust or lie buried under modern cities, yet the allure persists. Modern technology offers new hope: ground-penetrating radar, satellite imagery, even AI-powered translation tools cracking the scroll's linguistic quirks. And while no one's found so much as a single talent of silver, the Copper Scroll keeps its secrets close. Maybe the treasure was looted centuries ago. Maybe it's still out there, waiting under some forgotten ruin or beneath the tangled roots of an olive tree. One thing's certain, until someone cracks the code, this ancient treasure map remains the ultimate test of patience, luck, and sheer stubborn faith. The waters off Alexandria hold more than just the ruins of a sunken city. They might guard the final secret of Cleopatra, Egypt's last pharaoh, and one of history's most mesmerizing figures. For centuries, scholars assumed her tomb lay lost forever, swallowed by earthquakes or plundered by invaders. But in the past decade, a team of underwater archaeologists led by Dr. Kathleen Martinez has turned that assumption on its head. Diving near the ancient temple of Taposiris Magna, they've uncovered clues that could rewrite history. Tunnels carved deep into the bedrock, alabaster statues of Cleopatra's royal dynasty, even gold coins bearing her unmistakable profile. Each discovery fuels the tantalizing theory that Cleopatra and her lover Mark Antony were buried here, far from the political chaos of Rome, in a tomb so lavish it would rival Tutankhamun's. What makes this search so electrifying isn't just the potential treasure. Though rumors speak of sarcophagi lined with lapis lazuli and hoards of Ptolemaic gold, but the woman herself. Cleopatra wasn't just a queen, she was a master strategist, a polyglot who charmed emperors, and a ruler who famously chose death over humiliation. Ancient historians wrote that she and Antony were interred together, their bodies preserved alongside unimaginable riches as a final act of defiance. Yet no account reveals the tomb's location. Dr. Martinez's theory hinges on a bold hunch. Cleopatra, ever the showman, would have chosen Taposiris Magna not just for its secrecy but for its symbolism. The temple was dedicated to Osiris, god of the afterlife, a fitting stage for a queen who styled herself as Isis reborn. The underwater excavations reveal a landscape frozen in time. Submerged chambers hint at a sprawling necropolis, their walls etched with hieroglyphs that mention the Great Queen. In 2010, a radar scan detected a hidden void beneath the temple floor, its dimensions matching those of a royal tomb. Then came the artifacts, a mask believed to depict Antony, a fragment of a ceremonial headdress, and most compellingly, a bust so finely carved it could only have adorned a ruler's resting place. Yet the Mediterranean guards its secrets fiercely. Saltwater erodes stone, shifting sands bury corridors, and the team races against time to piece together the puzzle before the sea claims it forever. Skeptics argue the tomb might lie elsewhere, perhaps beneath modern Alexandria, where urban sprawl makes excavation near impossible. Others suggest Cleopatra's remains were destroyed long ago, a casualty of Rome's campaign to erase her legacy. But Dr. Martinez remains undeterred. Each dive brings her closer to what could be the century's greatest archaeological find. Not just gold, but the chance to stand face to face with Cleopatra herself. Her story finally told not by conquerors, but by the object she chose to take into eternity. And if the tomb is real, its discovery wouldn't just rewrite history. It would reignite the legend of a queen who, even in death, refuses to be forgotten. The legend of the Nibelungs isn't just a tale of dragons and betrayal. It might be the echo of a real treasure so vast it reshaped kingdoms. Buried at the heart of this epic is the Rheingold, a hoard cursed by greed, said to have sunk beneath the river's waters after bringing doom to all who possessed it. Wagner immortalized it in his operas, but the story's roots dig deeper, tangled with the rise and fall of ancient Germanic tribes. Historians now whisper that the myth could trace back to the Burgundians, a people whose kingdom crumbled under Attila the Hun's onslaught in the 5th century, and whose royal treasury vanished without a trace. What makes this hunt so compelling is the collision of poetry and proof. The Nibelungenlied, the medieval epic that inspired Wagner, describes gold beyond measure, gifts from the gods, and a cloak of invisibility, fantastical elements, yes. But strip away the magic and you're left with tantalizing clues. The poem names locations like Worms, a real Rhineland city where the Burgundians ruled, and the river itself where the treasure was supposedly drowned. In 1980, a fisherman near Worms dragged up a Roman-era helmet crusted with gold, just the kind of artifact a fleeing king might have abandoned. Then, in 2014, amateur divers found a cache of 4th century silver near the riverbank, sparking fevered speculation. Were these fragments of the Nibelung hoard? Theories diverge wildly. Some scholars argue the treasure was real but scattered, looted by Huns, melted down by later rulers, or hidden in the Black Forest's labyrinthine caves. Others suggest the Rheingold is purely symbolic, a metaphor for the corrupting allure of power. But the most tantalizing lead comes from a 12th century chronicle, which claims a group of monks discovered a golden chariot in the Rhine's mud, only for it to vanish when the church tried to claim it. Could this have been the last glimpse of the Nibelungs' legacy? Modern technology offers new hope. Sonar scans have revealed anomalies deep in the riverbed, unnatural shapes that could be chests or weaponry. Meanwhile, historians scour tax records from the Middle Ages, looking for sudden wealth in monasteries or nobles' coffers that might trace back to the hoard. Yet the Rhine keeps its secrets close, its currents shifting the sands that may forever cloak the gold. Whether the treasure was real or merely the dream of poets, one thing's certain. Its legend endures because it touches something primal, the fear that wealth, like the river, is both life-giving and lethal. And perhaps that's the true curse of the Nibelungs, not that the gold was lost, but that we'll never stop searching for it. Death Valley's scorching sands hide a secret that's lured prospectors to their graves for over a century. The lost Gunsight mine, a fabled vein of silver so pure it was said to glint like a mirror in the desert sun. The legend begins in 1849, with a band of pioneers stranded in the Mojave's hellish heat. While repairing a broken wagon, one man allegedly chipped off a chunk of rock to fashion a makeshift gun sight, only to realize too late he'd been holding a nugget of near-pure silver. Before he could mark the spot, a sandstorm buried the outcrop, leaving behind just one clue: the gun sight itself, later assayed at 98% pure. What followed was a hunt that would twist through time, blending Spanish colonial greed, Wild West desperation, and modern obsession. Stories of the mine's origins spiraled deeper than the prospector's tale. Some whisper it was first worked by Spanish conquistadors in the 1700s, their Jesuit allies smelting the silver into bars stamped with cryptic crosses before hiding them in caverns. Others point to the mysterious Pegleg Smith, a one-legged trapper who roamed the Mojave in the 1830s, boasting of a black-topped mountain where gold nuggets littered the ground like pebbles. But the most chilling accounts come from those who searched and vanished. In 1931, a prospector named Death Valley Scotty led an expedition to a canyon he claimed held the mine, only to return days later, delirious and empty-handed, muttering about cursed ground. Another seeker, Dr. Darwin French, spent 30 years scouring the Panamint Range, convinced the silver lay beneath a distinctive owl-shaped rock. He died penniless, his maps dismissed as the ravings of a sun-addled mind. Modern technology hasn't made the hunt any easier. Satellite imagery reveals ancient smelting pits near the Nevada border, while ground-penetrating radar has detected unnatural voids deep beneath the dunes. But Death Valley plays cruel tricks. Mirages distort landmarks, flash floods erase trails, and the very geology shifts. What was a canyon one year might be a dust bowl the next. The most promising recent lead came in 2015 when hikers stumbled upon a Spanish-style arrastra, a primitive ore-crushing device near Tucky Mountain. But before archaeologists could study it, a rockslide sealed the site, as if the desert itself were guarding its prize. What keeps the legend alive isn't just the potential wealth, it's the tantalizing possibility that the gunsight mine was never truly lost. Local Shoshone oral histories speak of a shining mountain their ancestors avoided, fearing the spirits within. Geologists note the region's geology does host rare silver chloride deposits, exactly as described in old reports. And then there's the bizarre case of the Skidoo Mill, a short-lived mining town where workers in 1907 reportedly extracted ore so rich it assayed at $2,000 a ton, only for the vein to inexplicably vanish weeks later, leaving behind empty tunnels and unanswered questions. The truth might lie scattered in pieces: a Spanish helmet found near Wingate Pass, a rancher's tale of discovering a skeleton with a silver bar clutched in its ribs, or the cryptic diary of a Jesuit priest referencing the Devil's Forge somewhere in the Funeral Mountains. Until someone stitches these fragments together, the lost gunsight mine remains the Mojave's ultimate tease, a treasure that's always just over the next dune, shimmering in the heat haze, forever out of reach. And perhaps that's the way it should be. Some secrets aren't meant to be dug up, they're meant to keep us dreaming. The treasure of Montezuma wasn't just plundered gold, it was the lifeblood of an empire, and its disappearance remains one of history's most agonizing mysteries. When Hernan Cortés and his conquistadors entered Tenochtitlan in 1519, they were stunned by the Aztec capital's splendor: canals gleaming with gold dust, palaces adorned with jade, and a treasury so vast its wealth was said to fill multiple rooms. Montezuma, the emperor, initially offered gifts to the Spaniards: golden discs as large as wagon wheels, feathered headdresses sewn with gemstones, hoping to appease them. But these treasures only fueled Cortés' greed. What unfolded next was a tragedy that would echo through centuries. The turning point came during the Noche Triste, the Night of Tears. In June 1520, as tensions between the Aztecs and Spaniards boiled over, Cortés ordered a frantic retreat from Tenochtitlan. His men, weighed down by stolen gold, tried to flee under cover of darkness across the city's causeways. But the Aztecs, enraged by Montezuma's death, whether by Spanish hands or his own people's stones is still debated, unleashed a brutal attack. Hundreds of conquistadors drowned in the lake, their pockets stuffed with loot. Survivors later claimed the waters shimmered with discarded treasure as men chose life over gold. But the real question is, what happened to the rest? Some believe the bulk of Montezuma's hoard was hidden before the siege. Spanish accounts describe Aztec priests smuggling chests of jewels and golden idols into secret tunnels beneath temples. Others think Cortés managed to salvage a fraction, later shipping it to Spain, though royal inventories show only a trickle of Aztec gold reached Europe. Then there's the legend of the Golden Canoe. In the 1930s, a farmer near Mexico City unearthed a stone slab carved with Aztec glyphs hinting at a ceremonial boat laden with treasure sunk in Lake Texcoco. Submersibles have since spotted unnatural shapes in the murk, but silt and urban pollution have thwarted recovery. The wildest theory, the treasure never left. Modern archaeologists using ground-penetrating radar have detected voids beneath the Templo Mayor, spaces that match descriptions of royal storerooms. In 2014, a discovery electrified scholars. A tunnel beneath the temple containing a trove of golden figurines, jade masks, and a miniature war god crafted from pure gold. Was this a fragment of Montezuma's stash, hastily hidden as the empire fell? The find reignited hope that the greatest prize, perhaps the emperor's legendary feather crown, said to be worth a kingdom's ransom, still lies buried, waiting for the right shovel to strike. What makes this hunt so haunting isn't just the gold, but the asymmetry of loss. For the Aztecs, these objects weren't mere wealth, they were sacred, infused with the essence of gods. A single emerald-studded serpent might represent generations of devotion. That's why the search continues, not just for treasure hunters, but for Mexico's cultural memory. Every artifact recovered is a thread pulled from the fabric of a civilization that refused to be erased. And somewhere beneath the modern streets of Mexico City, or in the depths of a forgotten lake, the rest of Montezuma's legacy waits not just gold, but the soul of an empire that still whispers its defiance. Deep in the Superstition Mountains of Arizona, where jagged cliffs cast shadows like grasping fingers, lies a secret that has cost men their lives for over a century: the Lost Dutchman's gold mine. This isn't just another wild goose chase, it's a story soaked in blood, betrayal, and enough twists to fill a dime novel. The legend centers around Jacob Waltz, a German immigrant nicknamed the Dutchman, who in the 1880s allegedly stumbled upon a motherlode of gold so rich he could pluck nuggets from the ground like apples. On his deathbed in 1891, Waltz whispered cryptic directions to a caregiver, igniting a hunt that would become the American West's deadliest treasure saga. What makes this mine different from every other lost trove? The sheer body count. Over the past 130 years, at least 6 would-be prospectors have died under suspicious circumstances, vanished without a trace, found with bullet holes in their skulls, or tumbling from cliffs under mysterious conditions. One victim, Adolf Ruth, set off in 1931 with a map he claimed was given to him by Waltz's descendants. His decapitated corpse was discovered months later, a bullet hole in his skull and his notebook filled with frantic scribbles about the mine's curse. Even stranger, his skull was found a quarter-mile away, bleached by the sun, as if placed there deliberately, but the mine's origins might stretch back further than Waltz. Local Apache tribes spoke of a forbidden canyon where their ancestors extracted gold long before Europeans arrived, a place guarded by the thunder god who punished intruders with earthquakes and landslides. Spanish conquistadors left behind crumbling maps marked with a red X near Weaver's Needle, a towering rock spire that features heavily in Dutchman lore. Some believe Waltz didn't discover the mine at all, but inherited its secret from a Peralta family heir, Mexican aristocrats, who'd worked the claim decades earlier before being massacred by Apaches. Their bones, and perhaps their gold, still lie scattered in the desert. modern searches have only deepened the mystery. In 1977, a prospector named Kenworthy claimed he'd cracked Waltz's code, leading him to a cave filled with veins of gold. He vowed to return with equipment but was found dead in his Phoenix apartment before he could, his notes missing. Then there's the stone maps, a set of enigmatic tablets discovered in the 1940s, etched with symbols that might point to the mine's location. Treasure hunters have spent decades deciphering them, only to find themselves led in circles through box canyons and dead-end trails. Geologists argue the superstitions shouldn't even hold gold. The region's volcanic geology makes large deposits unlikely. Yet small traces have been found, including a 20-ounce nugget uncovered near Peralta Canyon in the 1990s. That's the Dutchman's real power. It dangles just enough proof to keep hope alive. Some say the treasure isn't gold at all, but a hidden Spanish mission stacked with religious relics. Others insist it's a smuggling operation's cache, or even an elaborate hoax Waltz concocted to spite his rivals. The truth, it might not matter. The lost Dutchman's greatest legacy isn't the gold, it's the way it exposes human nature. The superstitions don't just hide a mine, they mirror the obsessions of those who dare to search. For every skeptic who calls it a fool's errand, there's another hiker shouldering a pack at dawn, convinced this time the desert will give up its secret. And until someone finds that vein or the mountain claims another victim, the Dutchman's ghost will keep laughing from the cliffs, his treasure forever just one more canyon away. The sea has always kept its secrets well, but few stories haunt treasure hunters quite like the Flor de la Mar, a ship so laden with gold, it's been called the Holy Grail of shipwrecks. In 1511, this Portuguese carrack was returning from the conquest of Malacca, a wealthy sultanate in modern-day Malaysia. Its holds groaned under the weight of plunder, chests of rubies and emeralds, golden statues stripped from temples, and 60 tons of pure gold ingots, enough to bankroll a kingdom. But as the ship rounded Sumatra's northern coast, a typhoon tore it apart, sending its treasure spilling into the depths. The captain, Alfonso de Albuquerque, survived by clinging to wreckage, forced to watch as the sea swallowed what historians estimate would be worth over $2 billion today. What makes this wreck legendary isn't just the treasure, it's the sheer injustice of its loss. The Flor de la Mar was already a cursed vessel. By 1511, its hull was rotten and patched with makeshift repairs, yet Albuquerque insisted on overloading it, ignoring warnings that the ship couldn't handle such wealth. Eyewitness accounts describe the storm's fury: waves as tall as castles, the crew's screams drowned by wind, and the ship's hull splitting like kindling as treasure cascaded into the swirling dark. The exact sinking site remains disputed. Some accounts place it near the Strait of Malacca, others off the coast of Sumatra. But the real mystery is why, despite 5 centuries of searching, no one's found more than fragments. Modern expeditions have turned the ocean floor into a high-tech battleground. In the 1980s, salvage company Sea Hunt claimed to locate the wreck near the Aru Islands, only to have Indonesia's government revoke their rights amid legal chaos. In 2013, a Malaysian team using sonar detected a debris field near Pedir, Sumatra, but recovered just a single gold coin, enough to tantalize, not confirm. The challenges are staggering. The seabed here is a shifting labyrinth of mud volcanoes and tectonic faults, where centuries of sediment can bury a galleon deeper than any shovel can reach. Then there's the human factor. Local fishermen whisper of golden ghosts near the wreck site, strange lights under the waves, said to lure divers to their doom. More tangible are the political hurdles. Indonesia and Malaysia both claim potential salvage zones, turning every expedition into a diplomatic minefield. Even if someone did find the Flor de la Mar, ownership would spark international lawsuits, with Portugal likely demanding its cultural heritage back. Yet the hunt goes on, fueled by clues as fragile as they are promising. A 500-year-old Portuguese map tucked away in a Lisbon archive hints that some treasure washed ashore, scooped up by villagers who melted it down for trinkets. Another lead points to Albuquerque's personal logs, which suggest he did recover a fraction of the gold, just enough to torment historians with what-ifs. But the ocean guards its prizes fiercely, until someone pulls a golden lion from the depths. The ship's famed figurehead, said to be studded with gems, the Fleur de la Mar, will remain the ultimate symbol of greed's folly, a fortune so close yet forever out of reach. And maybe that's the lesson. Some treasures aren't meant to be owned, just dreamed of, glittering in the dark where the sea keeps its secrets best. The summer of 1715 should have been a time of celebration for Spain. 11 ships of the famed Flota de Tierra Firme, the Tierra Firme fleet, were lumbering home from the New World, their holds stuffed with silver from Mexico, emeralds from Colombia, and enough gold doubloons to fill a king's vault. The crown was desperate for this treasure. Years of war had drained its coffers, and these ships carried the empire's lifeline. But on July 30th, as the fleet skirted Florida's coast, the sky turned the color of lead. What struck next wasn't just a storm, it was an apocalypse. A hurricane of unimaginable force shredded the ships like parchment, scattering their wreckage across 50 miles of coastline. By dawn, 10 vessels had vanished beneath the waves, taking with them over 14 million pesos of treasure, a haul worth nearly $700 million today. And while centuries of salvage have recovered fragments, the lion's share of the San Miguel's cargo remains lost, a glittering graveyard just beyond reach. What makes this wreck different from other sunken treasures? The sheer chaos of its sinking. Unlike ships that went down in deep water, the San Miguel and its sister vessels broke apart in the shallows, their treasures flung across reefs and sandbars in a mad scramble of nature. Eyewitness accounts describe sailors clinging to floating debris as chests of jewels burst open beside them, the sea foaming with gold coins. Some survivors made it ashore, only to be picked off by pirates or hostile tribes. Others drowned within sight of land, their last breath spent watching waves toss ingots onto the beach like playthings. The Spanish launched frantic recovery efforts, even enslaving indigenous divers to retrieve what they could, but the hurricane's scars ran deep. Sand shifted overnight, burying treasure as quickly as it was found. Within months, the Crown declared the mission a failure, leaving behind a fortune. Modern treasure hunters call this stretch of Florida the Treasure Coast for good reason. In the 1960s, a contractor named Kip Wagner changed history when his metal detector screeched over a sand dune near Sebastian Inlet. What he unearthed wasn't just a coin, it was a trail. Over the next decade, Wagner's team pulled up over 6,000 gold coins, solid silver bars stamped with Spanish royal marks, and even a single emerald the size of a quail's egg. But here's the twist, their finds accounted for less than 5% of the fleet's total cargo. The San Miguel, the fleet's largest ship, remains the Holy Grail. Historical records suggest it was carrying the Crown's private reserves. Jeweled religious artifacts, chests of pearls from Venezuela, and an entire golden altar disassembled from a Panamanian cathedral. The challenge, the San Miguel didn't sink where it was supposed to. While most wrecks cluster near Cape Canaveral, recent research hints the ship may have drifted north, pulled by the storm's dying currents. Marine archaeologists have pored over centuries-old salvage logs, cross-referencing them with modern sonar scans. One tantalizing clue came in 2014, when divers found a single silver fork bearing the San Miguel's insignia near Vero Beach, miles from any other wreck. Then there's the Gold Fleet satellite imagery, which shows unnatural shapes half buried in the seabed near Fort Pierce, their outlines too angular to be rocks. But the real drama lies in the legal battles. Florida's waters are a war zone of salvage rights, with companies like Odyssey Marine spending millions on expeditions, only to face off with the state over who owns what's found. Meanwhile, storms like Hurricane Nicole in 2022 keep rewriting the map, exposing centuries-old artifacts one day and swallowing them the next. The San Miguel's treasure might be closer than we think, washed ashore and buried in someone's backyard, or nestled in a sandbar just waiting for the right storm to reveal it. Until then, the sea holds its cards tight, letting us glimpse just enough to keep the dream alive. And maybe that's the thrill of the hunt, not just the gold, but the chance to touch a moment frozen in time when the ocean reminded even kings that some treasures aren't meant to be owned. The Nuestra Señora de Atocha wasn't just another shipwreck, it was a floating kingdom's ransom, and its story reads like a Hollywood heist gone wrong. On September 6, 1622, this Spanish galleon, weighed down by an almost comical fortune, was sailing home from Havana when a hurricane slammed it into a reef off the Florida Keys. The Atocha shattered like glass, taking with it 40 tons of silver, 180,000 silver coins, 70 pounds of emeralds, and enough gold bars to build a small fortress. For centuries, it lay undisturbed, its exact location a mystery, until 1985, when treasure hunter Mel Fisher finally struck gold after a grueling 16-year search. But here's the twist: even after recovering $500 million worth of treasure, half the ship's cargo is still missing. What makes the Atocha's lost haul so tantalizing isn't just its value, it's the sheer audacity of what's still out there. Fisher's team found the ship's stern where common cargo was stored, but the Atocha's main treasure chamber, a fortified vault near the bow, was torn away by the storm and vanished. Inside, historical manifests list items that sound like pirate fantasies. A chest of 3,000 uncut Colombian emeralds, solid gold religious artifacts destined for Spanish cathedrals, and even a personal shipment of jewels belonging to the Marquesa de Atocha, a noblewoman who went down with the ship. Divers have since found scattered clues: a single emerald here, a gold chain there, hinting that the bow's wreckage might be scattered across the ocean floor, just waiting for the right storm to expose it. The search today is a high-tech chess match against nature. The Gulf Stream's currents constantly shift the sand, burying and revealing artifacts in a cruel game of peek-a-boo. Fisher's own grandson, Kane, now leads expeditions using cutting-edge magnetometers and side-scan sonar to map the seabed. In 2021, they uncovered a 22-pound silver bar stamped with the royal tax mark, proof the motherlode is still within reach. But the real prize, the Atocha's missing anchors. Historical shipwright records suggest the bow section, where the treasure vault was located, would have been anchored to the seabed by 3 massive iron hooks. Find those and you've likely found the jackpot, yet the Atocha guards its secrets jealously. The same reefs that sank the ship now shield it, their jagged coral teeth shredding diving equipment and GPS signals alike. Legal battles over salvage rights have tangled progress, with Florida's government and Fisher's company locked in disputes over who owns what's found. And then there's the eerie legend of the Atocha curse, a string of deaths including Mel Fisher's own son and daughter-in-law who drowned during the search. Superstition or not, the sea here fights back. So why does the hunt endure? Because the Atocha isn't just about treasure. It's about closure. Every emerald recovered is a thread pulled from a 400-year-old tragedy, a story of greed, survival, and the arrogance of men who thought they could outrun a storm. And somewhere in those turquoise waters beneath the shifting sands, the Atocha's heart still beats a golden pulse, waiting for the right hand to finally quiet its restless echo. The Merchant Royal wasn't just a ship, it was a floating bank vault, so obscenely wealthy that its sinking in 1641 sent shockwaves through Europe's economy. Nicknamed the El Dorado of the Seas, this English galleon was returning from the Spanish Main when it vanished off Cornwall's rocky coast, taking with it £500,000 of treasure, enough to bankrupt entire kingdoms at the time. Today, that haul would be worth over $1.3 billion, making it one of the most valuable shipwrecks still lost beneath the waves. But what makes this story so gripping isn't just the treasure, it's the absurd irony of how it was lost. The ship had been docked in Cadiz, Spain, loaded with silver bars, gold coins, and enough precious gems to make a sultan blush. But the Merchant Royal wasn't just carrying Spanish loot, it had also absorbed the cargo of its sister ship, the Santa Ana, which had sprung a leak. Now packed beyond capacity, the Merchant Royal set sail for home in storm season, its captain John Limbry famously boasting that the sea couldn't swallow what God had blessed. Famous last words: on September 23, 1641, a gale tore the ship apart near the Isles of Scilly, sending its treasure and all but 40 of its crew into the abyss. Survivors later described watching chests of gold spill into the water like a river of fire, the waves so thick with coins that they glittered under the moonlight. For centuries, the wreck's exact location remained a mystery, its legend growing with every failed salvage attempt. Then, in 2007, a fishing trawler off Land's End snagged its nets on something unnatural, a cannon, crusted with centuries of rust but unmistakably 17th century. Odyssey Marine Exploration, a deep-sea salvage firm, swooped in, recovering over 17 tons of silver coins from a site codenamed Black Swan. But here's the twist: the Spanish government sued, claiming the treasure was their spoils from their colonial empire. After a brutal legal battle, the coins were repatriated to Spain, leaving the Merchant Royal's main hoard, the gold, still undiscovered. Modern hunters are convinced the wreck lies in pieces, scattered across the seabed in a treacherous stretch nicknamed the Graveyard of the Atlantic. Side-scan sonar has revealed tantalizing clues: an anchor matching the Merchant Royal's design, a pile of cannonballs fused together by time, even a single gold chain snagged on a reef. But the challenges are staggering. The currents here are vicious, visibility near zero, and the seabed a shifting moonscape of sand and rock. One diver described searching for the wreck as trying to find a needle in a haystack while the haystack is on fire. The real prize, the ship's strongroom, where manifests suggest the bulk of the gold, was stored along with personal jewels belonging to wealthy merchants who'd booked passage. Some historians believe the Merchant Royal might also have been carrying something far stranger: a set of Aztec sun discs, looted from Mexico and said to be studded with obsidian and gold. Whether myth or reality, one thing's certain: this wreck isn't just a treasure hunt. It's a time capsule of an era when the seas were highways of greed and a single storm could rewrite history. And until someone pulls that first gold bar from the depths, the Merchant Royal will keep its secrets, laughing at us from the dark. The Lutine wasn't just another warship lost at sea. It was a floating treasury whose fate became the foundation of one of the world's most famous financial institutions. On October 9, 1799, this British frigate, laden with gold and silver bullion worth millions in today's currency, set sail from Yarmouth to Hamburg, tasked with stabilizing Europe's economy amid the Napoleonic Wars. But the North Sea had other plans. A hurricane-force gale drove the Lutine onto a sandbank near the Dutch island of Terschelling, its hull splintering like matchwood. Of the 240 souls aboard, only one survived, a lone sailor who gasped out the ship's final moments before succumbing to exhaustion: the treasure. It vanished beneath the waves, swallowed by shifting sands so treacherous they're nicknamed the Ship Eater. What makes this wreck legendary isn't just the lost gold, it's the Lutine Bell. Recovered in 1858 and now enshrined at Lloyd's of London, the bell's toll still echoes through financial history. For over 2 centuries, insurers at Lloyd's, the very firm that underwrote the Lutine's cargo, have rung it once for bad news, twice for good. But here's the twist: while the bell found its way home, the bullion remained stubbornly out of reach. Salvage attempts began almost immediately, with Dutch fishermen dredging up a handful of gold bars in 1860. Yet the sandbanks proved merciless, swallowing divers' equipment and baffling engineers with their quicksand-like movements. By 1924, Lloyd's had paid out the claims, effectively making the treasure their problem, a problem still unsolved. Modern technology has reignited the hunt. Sonar scans in 2018 revealed a debris field near Terschelling, including cannons matching the Lutein's armament. But the real breakthrough came in 2021 when a Dutch salvage team using sub-bottom profilers detected metallic anomalies beneath 30 feet of sand, exactly where historical accounts placed the wreck. The challenge: the site lies in a protected nature reserve, requiring delicate negotiations with environmentalists. Meanwhile, Lloyd's keeps a wry eye on the efforts, their ledgers still open for that one-in-a-century chance the sea gives back its prize. The Lutein's legacy isn't just gold, it's a lesson in risk and resilience. That bell, now polished to a shine, reminds us that even in loss there's ceremony. And somewhere off Terschelling, beneath sands that shift with every tide, the rest of the story waits, a fortune frozen in time, its silence louder than any bell. The SS Central America wasn't just a ship, it was a time capsule of the California gold rush, packed with dreams and dust turned to treasure. When it sank in 1857 during a hurricane off the Carolina coast, it took down 21 tons of gold, ingots, coins, and raw nuggets from San Francisco's booming mines. For over a century, the Ship of Gold became the stuff of legend until 1988, when a team led by engineer Tommy Thompson finally cracked its watery tomb, recovering 52,000 gold coins and 10,000 gold bars worth over $100 million. But here's the kicker: half the treasure is still missing. What makes this wreck so mesmerizing isn't just the gold, it's the human drama. The Central America was carrying the life savings of miners who'd struck it rich, their fortunes sealed in wooden crates marked with their names. Passengers played poker with $20 gold coins as the ship listed, gambling until the waves swallowed the decks. Survivors told of watching a man cling to a floating crate of gold, only to drown when he refused to let go. But the real mystery lies in the ship's strongroom, a fortified vault where manifests list 500 additional gold bars and thousands more coins. When Thompson's team found the wreck, the room's door was ripped clean off, its contents scattered into the abyss. Modern searches have turned the Atlantic floor into a high-stakes chessboard. In 2014, another team hauled up 35,000 coins, but the motherlode, estimated at another 100 million, remains tantalizingly out of reach. The challenge: the wreck sits 8,000 feet down, where crushing pressure and shifting currents toy with equipment. One salvage attempt in 2022 spotted a golden trail of coins leading away from the main site, hinting at a secondary debris field. Then there's the legal labyrinth. Battles over ownership have tied up recoveries for years, with insurers and investors all claiming a slice. The most haunting clue: a single 50-pound gold ingot recovered in 1990 bore the stamp of San Francisco's Just and Hunter Assay Office, proving it came from a specific batch still unaccounted for. That bar's siblings could be buried in the sediment or wedged in a canyon wall, just waiting for the right storm to expose them. Until then, the Central America's lost gold whispers from the deep, a reminder that even recovered treasure leaves stories unfinished. And perhaps that's the allure: not just the fortune, but the hunt itself, the chance to rewrite history with every glint in the darkness. The Nuestra Señora de los Mercedes wasn't just another sunken treasure. It became the centerpiece of a legal storm that redefined who owns history. When this Spanish frigate exploded off Portugal's coast in 1804, torn apart by British cannon fire during the Napoleonic Wars, it took with it 17 tons of silver coins minted in Peru, a haul worth $500 million today. For 2 centuries, the wreck slept undisturbed until 2007, when Odyssey Marine Exploration made headlines by hauling up 500,000 silver coins from a site they codenamed Black Swan. But the real drama wasn't underwater, it was in the courtroom. Spain sued, claiming the treasure as cultural patrimony, sparking a precedent-setting battle over whether shipwrecks are salvage or sovereign graves. What makes the Mercedes case so pivotal isn't just the silver, it's the ghosts clinging to every coin. These weren't mere artifacts, they were payroll for Spain's colonies, stamped with the faces of kings and the blood of forced indigenous labor. Odyssey argued finders keepers, citing maritime salvage law, while Spain countered that warships remain state property forever, regardless of time or depth. The U.S. Supreme Court ultimately sided with Spain in a landmark 2012 ruling, forcing Odyssey to return every coin, a decision that sent shockwaves through the treasure-hunting world. Yet the twist, archaeologists estimate another 100,000 coins might still be scattered across the seabed, along with personal effects from the 250 souls lost when the ship blew apart. Modern searchers now operate in the shadow of that verdict. Spain's Culture Ministry strictly monitors any exploration near the wreck site, using robotic submersibles to document debris fields without recovery. But whispers persist among divers, rumors of a second debris field miles from the main site where currents may have carried chests of coins. In 2018, a Portuguese fisherman netted a silver reel stamped with the same 1804 mint mark, reigniting speculation that the Mercedes treasure bled far beyond the official coordinates. The Mercedes legacy isn't just about lost silver. It's about who gets to tell its story. For Spain, the coins are repatriated pride. For Odyssey, a cautionary tale of profit versus ethics. And for historians, they're frozen moments, coins that never paid soldiers, never bought goods, forever suspended between the ocean floor and the courtroom's gavel. Somewhere in those depths, the rest of the treasure waits not just as wealth, but as a question. When does salvage become theft, and who, in the end, really owns the past? The San Jose isn't just a shipwreck, it's a sunken kingdom, a galleon so overloaded with treasure that its discovery in 2015 sent shockwaves through the archaeological world. Sunk by the British off Colombia's coast in 1708, this Spanish warship was carrying a cargo so vast, modern estimates place its value at $17 billion, easily the most valuable shipwreck ever found. But here's the twist: despite knowing its location, not a single coin has been recovered. Why? Because the San Jose isn't just about gold. It's a geopolitical time bomb, tangled in lawsuits, colonial guilt, and a high-stakes custody battle over who really owns the past. When the San Jose went down, it took with it the wealth of an empire. Historical manifests list 11 million gold and silver coins, emeralds from Muso mines so pure they glow like green fire, and religious artifacts plated in enough gold to gild a cathedral. But the real prize is the ship's private haul, personal treasures belonging to nobles and merchants who paid to smuggle their fortunes aboard, including a rumored solid gold statue of the Virgin Mary encrusted with 700 emeralds. The ship's sinking was so catastrophic, Spain's economy reeled for decades, and the British captain who ordered the attack was later court-martialed for excessive destruction of wealth. Fast forward 3 centuries, and the discovery of the wreck by Wood's whole oceanographic institution should have been a triumph. Instead, it ignited a firestorm. Colombia claims the San Jose as part of its cultural heritage, while Spain insists it's a sovereign immune warship protected by international law. Then there's the wild card, a U.S. salvage company, Sea Search Armada, which insists it located the wreck first in the 1980s and is owed half the treasure. The legal wrangling has grown so contentious that UNESCO implored all parties to stop treating the site like a piñata. The wreck itself adds another layer of intrigue. Resting nearly 2,000 feet down, the San Jose's hull is eerily intact, its cannons still bearing the engraved crests of Spanish royalty. Sonar images reveal chests stacked in the hold, their outlines perfectly preserved, while scattered coins form glowing trails in the sediment, like breadcrumbs leading to the motherlode. But the depth makes excavation a nightmare. One wrong move could collapse the ship's fragile structure, burying its secrets forever. Beyond the gold, the San Jose forces us to ask uncomfortable questions. Many of its treasures were mined by indigenous slaves under brutal conditions. Do modern nations have the right to profit from that pain? Some scholars argue the wreck should remain untouched as a mass grave. Over 500 souls perished in the sinking. Others see its recovery as a chance to rewrite colonial narratives, with Colombia's president calling it a chance to reclaim what was stolen. For now, the San Jose sits in the dark, its gold untouched, its emeralds still waiting. Maybe that's where it belongs, a frozen moment of imperial arrogance, a treasure too hot to handle. Or maybe it's just a matter of time before someone cracks the legal code, the tech catches up, and the sea finally gives up its richest secret. Until then, the San Jose reigns as the ultimate tease, a $17 billion question mark at the bottom of the ocean. The depths of the Mediterranean hold more than just shipwrecks. They guard a 300-year-old diplomatic secret that could rewrite history. In 1694, the HMS Sussex, a British warship, vanished off Gibraltar's coast during a violent storm, taking with it a cargo so politically explosive, its disappearance sent King William III into a panic. This wasn't just another naval loss. The Sussex was on a covert mission to bribe the Duke of Savoy, an Italian ally, to keep fighting France in the 9 Years' War. Historical ledgers suggest its hold carried 10 tons of gold coins worth roughly $500 million today, along with sealed letters that could expose the shadowy deals underpinning Europe's balance of power. But when the ship sank, it took those secrets to the grave, leaving behind a mystery that's now embroiled in modern-day treasure hunts and international legal warfare. Enter Odyssey Marine Exploration, the maverick salvage company that spent 2 decades chasing the Sussex's ghost. In 2002, they claimed to have found the wreck off Andalusia, using side-scan sonar to identify a debris field littered with cannons matching the ship's armament. But here's where things get messy. Spain, incensed by what it called treasure hunting under the guise of archaeology, blockaded Odyssey's ships, demanding proof the site wasn't a Spanish galleon. Meanwhile, Britain, which had struck a controversial deal with Odyssey to split any findings, insisted the wreck was sovereign naval property, immune to salvage laws. The clash became a modern echo of the very tensions that sank the Sussex: money, power, and the blurred lines between diplomacy and greed. The stakes aren't just financial, they're historical. If the gold is recovered, it could validate long-held suspicions about Britain's clandestine bribery networks during the war. Ship manifests hint at coded invoices, possibly even forgeries, meant to hide the payments from Parliament. But the wreck's condition adds another layer of intrigue. Odyssey's footage shows the hull shattered across a steep underwater slope, with coins and artifacts scattered like confetti in the sediment. Some archaeologists argue the site's chaotic state suggests the Sussex exploded before sinking, perhaps sabotage to prevent its mission's exposure. Legal battles have frozen progress for years. Spain's courts ruled in 2012 that Odyssey must halt operations until ownership is settled, while UNESCO has condemned the commercial exploitation of war graves. Yet the allure persists. In 2019, a leaked sonar image revealed an anomaly near the wreck, a concentrated cluster of metallic objects that could be the main gold shipment, separated during the sinking. For now, the Sussex's treasure remains in limbo, a prize caught between historians who want its secrets preserved and adventurers who dream of hauling history into the light. And maybe that's the irony. 3 centuries later, the gold meant to buy an alliance is still dividing nations, proving some treasures are cursed not by legends, but by the weight of the past they carry. The WWII wasn't just another pirate ship, it was a floating democracy captained by the rogue romantic Sam Bellamy, a man who called himself the Prince of Pirates and supposedly shared his plunder equally among his crew. When this slave-turned pirate ship wrecked off Cape Cod in 1717, it took with it a fortune so vast that even 3 centuries of salvage have only scratched the surface. While explorer Barry Clifford's 1984 discovery of the wreck made headlines, unearthing over 200,000 artifacts, including silver coins and the ship's iconic bell, the motherlode of Bellamy's treasure remains stubbornly out of reach. And what's missing isn't just gold, it's the untold chapters of a pirate legend. Historical accounts describe the Widers hold as a kaleidoscope of stolen wealth, chests of Spanish pieces of 8, gold dust from West Africa, and even church silver looted from 50 captured ships. But here's the catch: less than 5% of the estimated cargo has been recovered. Ship manifests and survivor testimonies hint at the real prize, a 400-pound hoard of gold bars minted in Peru and intended to bankroll European wars. These ingots, stamped with royal seals, would be worth tens of millions today. Yet despite decades of diving, not a single one has surfaced. The challenge isn't just depth, it's the sea's cruelty. The Wider shattered like glass in that fateful storm, its debris scattered across 2 miles of shifting sandbars. Clifford's team found coins fused into conglomerates, natural concrete-like lumps formed by centuries of ocean chemistry, suggesting heavier gold may lie buried even deeper, cemented beneath layers of sand. Then there's the mystery of the secondary wreck site. In 1718, a salvage crew reported finding a portion of the Wider's stern miles from the main wreck, still holding casks of uncounted treasure. That area, now called the Shallows, remains largely unexplored, its sands choking metal detectors with false signals from buried iron debris. But the most tantalizing gap isn't metal, it's meaning. The Wider was more than a pirate ship, it was a floating revolution. Bellamy, a former sailor turned outlaw, famously lectured captured merchants about the corruption of the wealthy, declaring, "They vilify us, the scoundrels do, when there is only this difference. They rob the poor under the cover of law, and we plunder the rich under the protection of our own courage." Personal artifacts like a sailor's leather shoe or a child's toy hint at the human stories lost to the waves. What journals or letters might still lie preserved in the anaerobic mud, waiting to reveal the true lives of these self-made outlaws? Modern technology offers new hope. In 2021, ground-penetrating radar detected a dense, man-sized object buried 20 feet beneath the seabed near the main wreck, too heavy for wood, too solid for rock. Could it be a secured strongbox, its iron bands shielding centuries-old parchment or precious gems? The Wider's legacy isn't just about treasure, it's about the chance to rewrite pirate history from the bottom up. Every storm reshapes the Cape's coastline, teasing explorers with glimpses of what might still be hidden. And until someone unearths Bellamy's golden manifesto, or the sea finally spits up its secrets, the Wider will remain the ultimate pirate tease, a democracy of riches still waiting to be shared. The Concepcion wasn't just another doomed galleon, it was a tragedy written in silver, a ship so overloaded with treasure that its sinking in 1641 nearly bankrupted Spain's colonial empire. Bound from Havana to Seville, this Spanish vessel struck a reef in the Silver Bank, a jagged stretch of coral northeast of Hispaniola, during a moonless night. Survivors later described the horror of hearing the hull tear open, the screams of drowning men mingling with the sound of 38 tons of silver coins and ingots spilling into the abyss. For centuries, the wreck's exact location taunted treasure hunters, its cargo worth over $400 million today, scattered across the seafloor like a broken necklace. What sets the Concepcion apart from other wrecks is the sheer persistence of its hunters. In 1687, a daring salvager named William Phipps became the first to recover part of the treasure using primitive diving bells, hauling up 34 tons of silver and earning himself a knighthood from King James II. But here's the catch: Phipps barely scratched the surface. Ship manifests list hundreds more silver bars and a trove of pearls from Venezuela, all still unaccounted for. Modern expeditions have turned the Silver Bank into a battleground of technology and luck. In the 1970s, treasure hunter Bert Weber used historical archives to narrow the search, recovering 60,000 silver coins. Yet the motherlode, the Concepcion's fabled stern cabin, where the richest cargo was stored, remained elusive. The wreck's final secrets may lie in its brutal breakup. Unlike ships that sank intact, the Concepcion shattered upon the reef, its debris fanning out across a mile of coral canyons. One theory suggests the stern, where the captain's strongbox and heaviest silver bars were kept, was flung into a deep trench by storm surges. In 2021, a marine archaeology team using sonar detected a cluster of cannon and anchor fragments at the base of a cliff-like drop-off, their positions matching the ship's last moments. But the silver bank guards its prizes fiercely. Currents here are unpredictable, visibility often zero, and the coral itself grows over artifacts like a living shield. Divers have described the sensation of brushing sand from a silver coin, only to watch it vanish again as the seabed shifts beneath them. Yet the Concepcion's real allure isn't just the missing silver, it's the human stories trapped in the wreckage. Among the recovered artifacts is a simple pewter spoon, its handle bent from the force of the sinking, and a child's wooden toy, hinting at passengers who never made it home. Ship manifests note a shipment of emerald-studded religious medallions destined for a Spanish queen, their green glow still waiting to be spotted in the coral. And then there's the legend of the Silver Madonna, a life-sized statue of the Virgin Mary supposedly cast from pure silver, rumored to have been lashed to the ship's mainmast as a final plea for mercy from the storm. The hunt continues, now driven by a mix of greed and historical closure. Advanced magnetometers can detect silver's unique signature under layers of coral, while AI algorithms cross-reference tidal patterns from 1641 to predict where the heaviest cargo might have settled. But the sea here plays cruel games. A storm in 2019 unearthed a cache of coins near the reef, only to bury them days later under 10 feet of sand. Perhaps the Concepcion's greatest lesson is that some treasures aren't meant to be owned, only glimpsed. And somewhere in those blue depths between the swaying coral and the watchful fish, the rest of its silver still waits, not lost, just resting until the ocean decides to give it up. The bomb Jesus wasn't just shipwrecked, it was erased from history until the desert itself gave up its secret. In 2008, miners scraping the sands of Namibia's Diamond Coast for precious stones stumbled upon a site that froze them in their tracks, a scattering of copper ingots half buried in the beach, their surfaces marked with the cryptic stamps of 16th century Portuguese foundries. As archaeologists rushed to the site, the scale of the discovery became staggering. This wasn't just a few relics, it was the shattered skeleton of the bomb Jesus, a Portuguese carrack lost in 1533 while racing home from India with a cargo so valuable it could have bankrolled a war. What makes this wreck extraordinary is how untouched it remained. The Namibian desert's dry air and shifting dunes acted like a time capsule, preserving artifacts usually devoured by saltwater. Divers uncovered more than 22 tons of copper ingots, stacks of elephant tusks bound for Renaissance sculptors, and over 2,000 gold coins minted in Lisbon, each one bearing the profile of King Joe Roman III. But the real headline was the diamonds. Ship manifests listed special stones for the king's treasury, and nestled in the sand, excavators found them. Uncut gems the size of quail eggs, still nestled in their rotting leather pouches, their first sunlight in 5 centuries glinting like frozen starlight. The bomb Jesus' sinking was a historical black hole until now. Records show it vanished after rounding the Cape of Good Hope, one of dozens of ships lost to the Roaring Forties storms. But the wreck's location suggests a grislier fate. Forensic analysis of the hull revealed cook fires still smoldering in the galley when the ship struck. The position of skeletons, some clinging to broken masts, others crushed under toppled cargo, hints at a desperate struggle to reach shore just yards away. For survivors, the real horror might have come next. The Namibian coast is one of Earth's most hostile environments, a waterless hell where 16th century sailors would have faced scorching heat and lions prowling the dunes. Modern technology has peeled back even more layers. CT scans of corroded chests revealed hidden compartments packed with pepper, a spice worth its weight in gold at the time, while spectrography identified tin from Malaysian mines, rewriting trade route maps. But the most haunting find, a silver medallion depicting the Virgin Mary clutched in the bony fingers of a sailor. It wasn't just jewelry, it was a sailor's pass, issued by the church to guarantee confession if death came at sea. The Bomb Jesus forces us to rethink what treasure means. Its gold and diamonds glitter, but the true value lies in the mundane. The leather shoes, the wooden plates, the scribbled crew manifest that name men erased from history. Namibia has declared the site a national heritage landmark, leaving much undisturbed as a memorial. Yet the desert hasn't given up all its secrets. Sonar scans show deeper caverns where the ship's stern may lie, possibly holding the captain's vault and whatever special stones remain for the sands to surrender. The coast of South Africa doesn't just whisper with the wind, it groans with the weight of sunken history, and few wrecks carry a story as harrowing as the São João. This wasn't just a ship, it was a floating vault of Portugal's imperial ambitions, lost in 1552 along a stretch so treacherous they call it the Shipwreck coast. Bound for Lisbon from India, the São João was heavy with the spoils of trade. Chests of gold cruzados, bundles of elephant tusks destined for Renaissance carvers, and a secret cargo of pearls meant for the king's crown. But when a storm dashed it against the rocks near present-day Port Edward, the sea claimed not just treasure, but over 500 souls in one of the deadliest maritime disasters of its time. What makes the São João's legacy so haunting isn't just the wealth it lost, it's the survival story that followed. A handful of survivors, including the ship's nobleman Dom Manuel de Sousa Sepulveda, staggered ashore only to face a grueling months-long march north toward Mozambique. Along the way, they endured starvation, hostile tribes, and the agonizing choice to abandon the dying, including Sepulveda's own wife, who reportedly begged to be left behind in the dunes. By the time rescue arrived, only 23 remained. Their ordeal was etched into colonial records, yet the wreck's exact location faded into myth, its gold and ivory swallowed by the shifting sands. For centuries, the São João was little more than a cautionary tale, until the 1980s, when a storm ripped away a layer of sand near the Mkomboti River, exposing a scatter of bronze cannons encrusted with coral. Archaeologists identified them as Portuguese naval guns from the mid-16th century, their markings a perfect match for the São João's armament. Nearby, divers found elephant tusks, some still lashed together with rotting rope, and a single gold coin wedged in a crevice, its face worn smooth by centuries of tides. The discoveries confirmed the wreck's general vicinity, but the real prize, the king's pearls and the bulk of the gold, remains elusive, buried somewhere beneath the sediment or locked in the ribs of the shattered hull. Modern searchers face brutal challenges. The Shipwreck coast lives up to its name. Jagged reefs lurk just beneath the surface, currents shift without warning, and visibility drops to inches in the churn. Salvage teams have used magnetometers to detect metal anomalies deep under the seabed, but the signals could be anything from cannons to modern debris. Then there's the legal labyrinth. South Africa's strict heritage laws classify the wreck as a protected grave, requiring any excavation to prioritize archaeology over profit. It's a noble sentiment, but one that leaves treasure hunters grumbling about gold left to gather seaweed. The greatest clue might lie in an overlooked detail from survivor accounts. One sailor wrote of watching the ship's stern where the captain's strongbox was kept break away and sink separately, pulled by a whirlpool into deeper water. If true, the bulk of the treasure could lie miles from the main wreck site, hidden in a submarine canyon where few have dared to dive. Or perhaps it's already been found piece by piece by locals who have pocketed coins washed ashore after storms, unaware of their bloody provenance. The Saojo's true value isn't just in gold or ivory, it's in the way its story mirrors the cost of empire. Every tusk represents elephants slaughtered for vanity, every coin a life lost to greed. Maybe that's why the sea clings to its secret so tightly. Some treasures aren't meant to be recovered, they're meant to remind us what we're capable of losing. And somewhere off that wild coast, the Saojo's legacy still drifts between the sand and the surf, a ghost story written in gold and grief. The Indian Ocean keeps many secrets, but few grip the imagination like the treasure of the Grosvenor, a wreck so laden with wealth that its loss sent shockwaves through the British Empire. On August 4, 1782, this mighty East Indiaman was nearing the end of its voyage from Ceylon to England, its holds packed with a fortune that would make kings envious. Diamonds pried from Golconda's mines, gold ingots stamped with the East India Company's seal, and crates of ivory taller than a man. But off the wild coast of South Africa, where the currents twist like serpents, the Grosvenor struck an unseen reef. Within hours, the ship was a broken toy in the waves, and its treasure, valued today at over $300 million, vanished beneath the foam. What makes this wreck so haunting isn't just the treasure lost, but the chilling survival story that followed. Of the 150 souls aboard, only 18 made it ashore alive, stumbling onto a stretch of coastline so hostile it's called the graveyard of ships. Starvation, crocodiles, and hostile tribes picked off the survivors one by one as they marched north toward Portuguese settlements. The few who finally reached civilization told of watching crewmates drown under the weight of diamond-filled pockets, their greed dragging them into the depths. One cabin boy claimed to have seen the ship's strongroom, a vault lined with ruby-encrusted gold, break free and sink into a foaming whirlpool, its location known only to the sharks. For 2 centuries, the Grosvenor's legend lured adventurers to their ruin. Victorian salvage teams armed with dynamite and dredges blasted the reef apart, recovering little more than a handful of silver spoons. Then, in 1980, marine archaeologist Dr. Malcolm Turner made a breakthrough. Using survivor accounts and tidal charts, he pinpointed a debris field 3 miles from the coast. His divers surfaced with artifacts that set historians' hearts racing. A diamond-studded pocket watch frozen at the moment of impact, a ledger listing 2,000 uncut diamonds destined for London's jewelers, and a single gold coin wedged in coral, proof the motherlode was near. Yet the Grosvenor guards its secrets with a vengeance. The wreck lies in the surf zone, where 10-foot waves batter the seabed, shifting tons of sand overnight. One expedition in 2010 found a cannon buried vertically, hurled into the ocean floor like a javelin by the storm's fury. Then there's the legal quagmire. South Africa's government declared the wreck a protected heritage site, banning commercial salvage. But whispers persist of illicit dives, of smuggled gems appearing in Cape Town's black markets, their origins as murky as the water they came from. The most tantalizing clue, a fragment of the captain's log salvaged in 1820, describing how crewmen lashed the heaviest treasure chests to the ship's interior beams, meaning the real fortune might still be trapped in the hull, preserved like a fly in amber. Modern sonar scans reveal an anomaly matching that description, a dense, rectangular mass nestled deep in the reef's embrace. Is it the strongroom or just another cruel trick of the sea? Until someone braves those killer waves, the Grosvenor's diamonds will keep sparkling in the dark, their light visible only to the fish and to the dreamers who still believe in treasure. The Doddington's wreck wasn't just a maritime accident, it was a financial earthquake. When this British East Indiaman slammed into the Algoa Bay reefs off South Africa in 1755, it took with it a fortune so vast the loss nearly collapsed several London trading houses. Bound from India to England, its holds were stuffed with gold coins minted in Madras, sacks of diamonds from Golconda, and ivory so pristine it was reserved for the royal family's carvers. But the real prize, a single iron chest locked and lashed to the ship's keel, rumored to hold the personal fortune of a Mongol prince, gold bars stamped with cryptic symbols, their value incalculable. The storm that night didn't just sink a ship, it buried a kingdom's ransom. For over 2 centuries, the Dodington slept beneath the waves, its location a mystery, until 1994, when salvager Rex Cowan braved the treacherous wild coast and struck literal gold. His team surfaced with 1,700 gold coins, each one gleaming as if minted yesterday. But here's where the story twists. Instead of applause, Cowan faced legal artillery. South Africa's government seized the haul, claiming the wreck lay in its territorial waters. The ensuing courtroom battle became a proxy war over who owns history, salvagers who risked their lives, or nations claiming cultural patrimony. Cowan's defense, the Dodington sank before South Africa existed as a country, making it treasure of the high seas. The judge ruled in his favor, setting a precedent that still rattles governments today. Yet the Dodington's greatest secret might still be out there. Ship manifests list 22,000 additional coins unaccounted for, along with that Mogul chest. Modern divers face a gauntlet of challenges. The wreck lies in a black water zone where sharks patrol and visibility drops to 0. In 2018, a robotic submersible spotted an anomaly, a rectangular shape half buried in the seabed, its dimensions matching descriptions of the prince's vault. But before recovery could begin, another storm buried it anew, as if the ocean itself were playing keep away. What makes this treasure hunt so electrifying isn't just the gold, it's the legal limbo surrounding it. Every coin pulled from the Dodington sparks fresh debates. Should private salvagers profit from historical wrecks, or does the past belong to everyone? For now, the answers are as murky as the waters off Algoa Bay, and somewhere in that shifting sand, the Dodington's heart still beats, a chest of Mogul gold waiting for the next adventurer bold enough to court both danger and controversy. The seafloor near Gibraltar hides more than just sunken ships. It guards a payroll meant to buy an empire's loyalty, lost in a storm that changed history. In 1694, the HMS Sussex led a British fleet into the Mediterranean on a mission so secret, even its own crew didn't know the full stakes. Nestled in its belly were 80 tons of gold coins, enough to bankroll an entire war. This wasn't just treasure, it was a king's desperate gamble to keep the Duke of Savoy from switching sides in the 9 Years' War. But when a hurricane-force gale slammed the Sussex into the depths off Spain's coast, the gold and the king's plans vanished beneath the waves, leaving behind a 300-year-old enigma that's still sparking lawsuits today. What makes this wreck so explosive isn't just the gold, it's the political dynamite it carried. Ship manifests list the coins as diplomatic subsidies, but historians know the truth. This was a bribe, plain and simple. King William III couldn't risk Parliament finding out he was funneling public funds into backroom deals, so the gold was secretly loaded under cover of darkness. The coins themselves tell the story, freshly minted, unmarked by royal seals, traceable to no official treasury. When the Sussex sank, it didn't just take wealth to the seabed, it buried evidence of a king's deception. The hunt for the Sussex has been a modern-day clash of titans. In 2002, Odyssey Marine Exploration, the same team that found the Black Swan treasure, claimed they'd located the wreck off Andalusia. Sonar images showed cannons matching the Sussex's armament and strange, dense clusters that could be gold coins fused together by centuries under salt water. But before Odyssey could recover a single coin, Spain's navy surrounded their ships, accusing them of plundering Spanish heritage. The legal battle that followed rewrote maritime law, with Britain insisting warships like the Sussex remain sovereign property forever, no matter how long they've been lost. Yet the most tantalizing clues lie in the wreck's eerie condition. Odyssey's footage reveals the Sussex didn't just sink, it imploded, its hull fragments scattered across a steep underwater cliff. Archaeologists suspect the ship's own cannons, torn loose in the storm, may have punctured the deck, sending the gold spilling into a deep trench. Even stranger, a set of encrypted ledgers recovered from London's archives suggest not all the gold was aboard when the ship went down. Some believe a portion was secretly offloaded in Cadiz, destined for shadowy intermediaries. The Sussex's legacy is a paradox, a treasure too politically radioactive to touch, yet too valuable to ignore. For Spain, it's a colonial grievance. For Britain, a sovereign secret. For salvagers, the ultimate test of patience and technology. And somewhere in those dark waters, the gold still waits not just as currency, but as a bargaining chip frozen in time, its power undiminished by centuries. Until someone cracks the legal deadlock or the sea finally gives up its proof, the Sussex will keep its secrets, a king's desperation preserved in the deep. The Black Swan project began like a modern pirate's dream, a treasure hunt disguised as a cutting-edge archaeological mission. In 2007, Odyssey Marine Exploration, a Florida-based salvage company, announced it had recovered over 17 tons of silver coins from an undisclosed shipwreck in the Atlantic, codenamed Black Swan. The haul was staggering: 500,000 silver coins, along with gold nuggets and artifacts, all valued at $500 million. But what should have been a celebration quickly erupted into an international legal firestorm. Spain's government, reviewing the coins' mint marks and historical records, made an explosive claim. This wasn't just any wreck. It was the Nuestra Señora de los Mercedes, a Spanish frigate sunk by the British in 1804, and its treasure belonged to Spain as sovereign property. The heart of the dispute wasn't just about ownership, it was about identity. Odyssey insisted the Black Swan site was a mixture of artifacts from multiple wrecks, making it fair game under international salvage law. But Spain's archivists pulled centuries-old manifests, proving the coins matched the Mercedes cargo down to the batch numbers. This wasn't mere treasure, it was a time capsule of colonial history, carrying the fingerprints of forced indigenous labor in Peru's silver mines. The legal battle that followed became a landmark case, stretching from Florida courts to the U.S. Supreme Court. Spain argued that warships, regardless of age, remain protected under sovereign immunity, a principle upheld by UNESCO. Odyssey countered that the Mercedes had been a commercial vessel carrying private goods, a claim undermined by the presence of naval cannons and military insignia among the wreckage. What made the Black Swan case so pivotal was its ripple effect. The U.S. court's eventual ruling in Spain's favor set a precedent. Nations could reclaim lost cultural heritage centuries later, even from private salvagers acting in good faith. For archaeologists, it was a victory against commercial exploitation. For treasure hunters, it was a chilling warning. The sea's riches might not be theirs to claim. Yet the intrigue didn't end there. Despite the court order, rumors swirled that Odyssey had held back coins for research, and Spanish officials grumbled about incomplete restitution. Meanwhile, the Mercedes resting place, once a buzzing salvage site, was declared a protected grave, its remaining artifacts left to the deep. The true legacy of the Black Swan isn't just in silver or legal jargon, it's in the questions it forces us to ask. Who owns the past? Can treasure ever be divorced from the blood and sweat that produced it? For Spain, those coins were reparations for colonial plunder. For Odyssey, they were the spoils of ingenuity and risk, and for historians, they're fragments of a story still being written, one where the ocean's depths hold not just gold, but the weight of unresolved history. The Black Swan didn't just surface treasure, it dredged up ghosts, and in the quiet of the Atlantic, where the Mercedes cannons still lie, those ghosts aren't done speaking. From the Ark of the Covenant's divine power to Cleopatra's lost tomb, from the cursed gold of the Knights Templar to the billion-dollar wreck of the San Jose, these treasures aren't just missing their stories without endings, riddles etched in gold and time. What makes them so irresistible isn't just their material worth, it's the audacity of their absence. These are objects that shaped empires, toppled kings, and inspired legends, yet they slipped through history's fingers, leaving behind shadows we can't stop chasing. Think about it. Why do we care so much about treasures we've never seen? Maybe it's the thrill of the unsolved, the chance that somewhere out there, a single clue could rewrite history. Or perhaps it's the human stories tangled in each loss, the pirate who chose greed over survival, the queen who buried her legacy rather than surrender it, the sailors who watched their fortune vanish beneath the waves. These aren't just lost objects, they're frozen moments of triumph, tragedy, and sheer defiance. And that's the real magic, the possibility that you could be the one to crack the case. Imagine stumbling upon Genghis Khan's tomb in the Mongolian wilderness, or diving onto the glint of the merchant royal's gold off Cornwall. These treasures aren't just relics, they're invitations to adventure, proof that the world still holds secrets waiting for the right explorer. So here's the question I'll leave you with. If you could find just one of these legendary treasures, which would it be? The Amber Room's radiant panels, the Copper Scroll's cryptic bounty, or maybe something we didn't even cover today? Drop your pick in the comments. I'd love to hear which mystery hooked you the hardest. And if you're itching for more lost gold, forgotten tombs, and real-life treasure hunts, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Who knows, the next great discovery might start right here. Until then, keep chasing the unknown. Somewhere out there, history's greatest treasures are still waiting to be found.